19.
Just out there at the site.
What?
Out there at the site.
Yeah, I just have to be the prisoner.
Court will come to order. It is Monday, July 17, 2023. The Clark County Commissioners Court is now in session. This is a budget workshop, and we have people from the various departments and offices here at the county to talk to us about their needs to run our local county government. And then we as a court have to make the decision on what we can afford and how we're going to be able to raise the money to pay for it. So with that, we have first with volunteer fire department.
Elder, which fund is it again?
114.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
Well, I guess I'll start off and then they can chime in if they want. They're scared over
You
this.
usually do. That's good.
But anyways, we appreciate everything y'all done in the past couple of years. We've definitely gotten some raises over the years from y'all. But one of the things that we requested this year, see if we can get a raise up to about $40,000. The reason being is we're mutual aiding each other quite a bit here lately. Fuel cost. We know we're gonna have a radio expense later on to finish out the comms for us. Anyways, in general, just everything's going up. I know we're asking for more, and so is everybody else, but we'd like to take that in consideration, so.
Hey Brian, you mentioned the radios.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, how many radios are going to come out of the project funding for the VFDs, like the average per VFD?
The average, it's all around different.
I know, but it's primarily line officers or what?
So right now,
Vehicles?
that grant will cover all of our trucks and then the line officers. So each department has different amount of trucks. Some have 14, some have 12.
Some have 6.
Yeah, so,
So I guess your point is that for the majority of your firefighters, you won't be getting a radio.
no. And then a bunch of us, like comms for our station, we won't get. There was amount of money that need to be, that we could only get there, so we try to minimize it down as best we could. So we'll have to, yeah, if anybody wants something for their firefighters, we're gonna pay for it out of our own pocket, so.
Let me ask, how much is your insurance going up this year?
Mine was about 28,000, plus we had to spend about 43 on workman's comp. So, and everybody's gonna be different.
I understand.
Mine's $33,500.
That's what it went up.
No, that's how much it is now. It went up $3,800.
Went up a little over 10%.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That pretty much uniform?
It's pretty-
All
pretty
got
much.
that, a little over 10%, is what it went up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And something that I would like to bring up too. We have 9 members on the Kirk County Swiftwater team that services the whole of Kirk County and surrounding areas. And we're looking at maybe see if we can get some funds for a boat. Kerrville has a boat, but they really can't deploy it until they have a second one en route. So with having another asset in Kirk County would be really helpful for the citizens here. Like I said, we've serviced all of Kirk County and the surrounding areas. So it's an ongoing training that we keep up with. It's not like it's a fly-by-night deal. All the Swiftwater team is all fully trained, and we go through training every 2 years. So it's a training we keep up with. So
You're training without a boat.
yeah,
We don't have one.
we don't have one yet.
Uh,
Well, that's what this little handout is, that you got this morning, is just the cost.
So that handout I gave Richard, that's what a boat would cost delivered to our door, ready to go. It's shipped to us.
I don't think I got that.
You said it right there.
Yeah.
Is it?
Okay. I got you.
I know with it being dry, it's kind of weird that we're asking for a boat, but it's kind of like a dry sponge. You pour water on it, it's going to run off pretty quick. So if we get any significant rain, we're looking at possible flash flooding and things like that. So
Does Comfort have a boat?
No, sir.
no, sir. They have like this small raft deal that's a one-person deal to get out to You lead it out there with a rope, but not an actual boat.
That sort of thing, when you need it, you need it.
Correct.
We have flooding every year.
Yes, sir.
Never know.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank y'all, appreciate it. Thank y'all.
So,
Wait a minute.
yes, no?
Well, I mean, that probably has to be taken into consideration in the overall budget, but I mean, I think our volunteer firefighters is the best deal we've got going in terms
Y'all have
of providing safety to the county.
Uh,
All of the costs are going up, we're looking at increases everywhere.
And then they've got the specific request for a switchboard responsibility.
which I think will be a different line item or something, I mean, because we're looking at funding for the departments, what we've done.
Yep.
I know last year we bumped it up 10% on them, that's what we looked at. 40%, I mean, 40,000 would be jumping it up to 15% or
A
so
little
this
bit
year.
more, yeah, a little less than that.
Yeah.
Lower than that.
Yeah.
But
You know, they're here, I think we need to have a little discussion, where we go. Judge, any thoughts?
No,
No thoughts.
I'm very unhappy about this whole budget process.
Well,
Just, my discontent is noted.
but it may be noted, but we have to do a budget.
yeah, that's what we're up here for.
I did my budget, y'all didn't like it. We're doing your budget
Well,
now.
you didn't like it either, Judge. I haven't heard you complain about anything that's been asked for. Sorry to maybe that blunt, but you've gone along with every request that's been added, or you haven't objected. So, you know, at some point, somebody has to start saying no, and I haven't heard any no from anyone on the court road. We've heard a lot of negotiation and settling on something, but I haven't heard anyone say no on the court.
Listen, no,
Okay, you don't want to increase the volunteer fire department?
no.
Okay.
What about the boat? I mean, how do we do sewage water response without a boat?
Well, let's,
Can we find
let's,
$31,000 to buy a boat?
First, I'd rather approach the
let's
the
take
total.
this.
You know, I would be in favor of a 10% increase again, which would be a little bit less than the 39,000 put it around. And I think that, I agree with you totally, Commissioner, that this is one of the best dollars spent in the county. Volunteer fire departments do a phenomenal job. They respond across the county, they all help each other. So, I mean, I'm in favor of that.
When we need them, they're there.
That's right.
They're
And
there.
compare the cost of a volunteer fire department with the cost of a hired department like Kerrville's.
I agree.
We could have an $9 million budget versus, what's this for one?
Well,
57
Yeah.
million.
Judge, we, every year, you know, you and I come in at the same point and, kind of proud of what we've done, you know, with the no new revenue, tax we've done over the years. And you've always come out with a preliminary budget and it's, you know, it's a lot of heavy lifting that I've noted before that you've gotten as a starting point, but we've always gone over. And, because of special requests from different departments, and I'm not just talking about volunteer fire departments, everything. And with inflation, what we're dealing with right now, the cost of everybody in this room, everybody listening, the whole county, it's noted when they go to the gasoline pump, it's noted when they go to the grocery store, everything they're dealing with. And our county employees, our volunteer fire departments, everybody else that we deal with are facing the same deal. And like I said, when we need these guys, they're there.
I don't disagree with them at all. They're great. What I disagree with is, we've got $40 million worth of tax revenues coming in, and we're spending 57 million. So how much do you want to raise taxes?
Well,
That's the question.
we went about trimming some last week. And that's what we're here to do. Look at the whole deal. but I'm not gonna come out and just say no. All of a sudden today, we start saying no to everybody when we weren't saying it before.
Well, my understanding was we kind of hear them out, take the wish list, whatever, and, you know, we're not necessarily approving it today. We need to approve it in the context of the total budget, which I agree is still inflated. We're gonna have to trim out a lot more. I can't say for sure today, you know, what stacks up versus what, where the cuts have to come from.
And I want to clarify
That's just
something.
me.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I respect volunteer fire departments, and I praise everything that you do. This is not about you. This is about the taxpayers, how to run county government, and where we're gonna get the money to pay for all this stuff. That's not y'all's fault, okay? But we're gonna have to right now, what we're looking at here is we're gonna take a fund balance of 40.88% and reduce it down to, what is it?
18.8, basically, if you're looking at just
The
talking
new improved
general.
figure.
So we're cutting the fund balance by almost half. Almost half. That means we're spending our savings. That's what that means. And so where are we gonna get the tax money? $500,000 worth of tax revenues equates to approximately 1 cent per $100 valuation. So if we're sitting here at 7 million right now, just to get us down to the 18% of what we're talking about, not even staying at the 25% that's recommended, that would be 7 cent tax increase. That's nuts. In my opinion, that's nuts. That has nothing to do with VFDs. I'm sorry, this is just the last workshop day, so this is where the no comes in. It has nothing to do with y'all individually. But we're talking about huge numbers here, and everybody needs more money. There's not a person in this room, there's not a person in this courthouse that doesn't understand we need more money. But the only way we're gonna get this money is by raising the taxes. And that discussion is not had. It's not been had. What we do is just sit here and listen to the wish list. We need this, we need that. Hey, I think a Zodiac for Swiftwater Rescue is great. But it's still, where am I gonna get the 31.5 to pay for it? That's the issue. And so nobody's wanting to talk about it. And so today, I'm saying, I'm talking about it. It means a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to the taxpayers.
But I'm disagreeing at the same time. It's not right for the taxpayers to have to carry a 40% fund balance. Why should we have that much money in reserve and not spend it on items that are necessary in the budget?
I don't mind spending the money that we've saved. We've managed the finances very well. But what we're doing right now is borderline irresponsible, in my opinion, for to jump this much.
We haven't done anything yet. We're still looking.
Well,
That's right. We're trying to figure out. I mean, we took out $2 million the last time we met. I don't think those are the current numbers, because they weren't run. So,
Right.
you know, that's 4 cents.
Took out more than that, I think.
We took out 4, instead of 2 million, that's 4 cents. You know, so your 7 cent, this went down to 3 cents. And hopefully we can
no, it's still at 7.
There's changes that y'all discussed on Wednesday of last week that are not reflected in the numbers.
That's right.
So I mean,
We're taking $1 million out of the flood deal.
Well,
That alone, and then we had a few others. We were getting closer to the number you were wanting, I think.
There were other expenses that came in underneath too
Well, I
between that
understand.
time, and that's why it's hard to say at this point.
Well, think about it, we haven't, I think we need to decide what we're gonna do with them and have it in there for Tanya's numbers when we look at the whole picture, and then we start shrinking it down if we have to. But we need to, I don't want these guys leaving with just a flat no.
well, the illusion is that we're making decisions in these workshops. Technically, we don't make decisions until we get to voting on the budget. So we listen in these workshops, and silence is being interpreted as acquiescence. I complained at the beginning of this process, and I'm complaining on the last workshop we're having, before we have to make a final decision about the budget. I am an unhappy camper. I do not want to tax the people this much money.
Judge, I wholeheartedly agree.
So do
The
I.
discussions and the things we've heard does not mean that I agree with it all. I certainly don't. But I kind of thought we would go through and give everybody an equal chance
Absolutely.
to state their case and make your ask. And then, once we have it all.
Personally, I have no objection to
Reduce it down.
to the VFD's ask.
Yeah.
But we don't have the money. And we haven't taken the necessary measures to tighten the belt to be able to have enough money to pay the county government the way that we expect to have it. And we're not there. And so you just have to show up on the last day, Charles, and I'm sorry. This has nothing to do with you guys.
I get it, sir.
So
Where are we?
do we ask Tanya to run the budget numbers one more time with a 10% increase and the Zodiac?
Well, she's run it with everything else that, she's over there taking notes, and she's done it with every department that's come in here. And, we put in changes, whether it be the district clerk, whether it be, environmental, sheriff's office, or whatever. So, I'm gonna suggest,
And just for clarification, it will go in as 40,000 on what their requests are, because that would make it comparable with the rest of the departments, because what y'all are looking at in y'all's summary are all the departmental requests. And so I keep saying we can't move on until we get all of the increases in there for y'all to discuss it at the next time. We haven't started entering all of y'all's changes that y'all kind of talked about until the next step.
I'm gonna suggest the 10% on these guys.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that, and I know they're good with that. What about the boat? Do we want to switch off the boat? 31,000.
I mean, my hesitation is on the boat. I think we need probably boats in the county.
Probably, but you know, where do you
I
start?
mean, if we're in
Right
a
now,
flood,
we have none.
I'm looking at it from my precinct. If we have a flood, I don't know how the boat's gonna get from Mountain Home to Comfort. Yeah. So, you know, but hats off to Mountain Home for being the ones that are taking the initiative to get trained on it.
That's what a lot of the departments are. It's not
Well,
so-
Simple string on it.
Yeah.
It's
They're
not
ready
as
to go.
It would make more sense to me to house a boat more central
Oh, yeah.
than Mountain
I
Home.
think so.
We discussed that, the problem is where, and,
Yeah.
you know, we can't afford to rent something. So that was the discussion amongst the team, what we talked about was, yeah, it would be great to have it in a central location, but we don't have the funds to put it in a storage unit or,
Centerpoint doesn't have an area at your station?
And I think the longer term plan is probably to have two, one on the east, one on the west.
Correct.
yes, that is our
And then
long-term
Kerrville
goal.
has one kind of central. And-
But
and
right
that
now,
would
do
cover
you
the
have a place, Charles?
But this is a place to start, the first one.
We have a place we could house it, yes. So,
At no additional cost?
at no additional cost. So,
Well, I presume that the boat is a long-term investment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the life of one of those boats is, but I guess it's probably long time. I'm gonna bring up something that, I don't know where else it came in here, he's done a capital outlay, which is a capital outlay item. I would like to find out if it makes economic sense to borrow the money for additional, basic road and bridge for 2 or 3 years down the road, buy whatever they need for the next 2 or 3 years, roll that, and maybe this into a, I call it tax anticipation note, it's what it is.
It's limited tax.
Limited tax note. Rather than issuing debt on a annual basis and wasting, I don't know what the cost is, $50,000 every year. You save $150,000 by doing it one time and then spending the money over that 3-year period. And at which point this court could at any point say, we're gonna go ahead and pay off that debt, we can't afford it, we pay off that debt, we're just, start over, or refinance it. It just seems to me that it's a way to, address capital needs and, get it off the M&O side.
We're kind of skipped down to another item on the agenda, so let's just go down to capital outlays. The auditor and I have talked about these limited tax loans and what would qualify from IT's request, from Road and Bridge's request. Or what else did we have in there? I'm trying to remember.
That's the main part of it.
Kind of scoured
IT and
the
road and
items in the
bridge.
budget that we but we could put on.
This boat was a small ticket item compared to everything.
Well, but for example, on IT, the things that have to be replaced every 3 years, we couldn't put on a 7-year note. We put on a 3-year note. And that was the itemization that we were looking at, how to try to do that. And it has a net savings of, how much was it?
I don't remember off the top of my head, Judge.
About $250,000.
Yeah. It was a
I
lot.
thought, yeah, it was.
The interest savings is huge versus leasing from countries.
Agree.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost of issuance is. I said 50,000. It's probably a pretty decent number.
Depends on
But-
the total amount.
Yeah. But to me, the boat would roll something like that if we went that route.
Now, that makes better sense to me.
Yeah.
Instead of
And if
just,
we're gonna do that, we should
continue
have two
to
boats.
keep pile of money on. We did a tax anticipation note when we bought the properties for the capital improvements. And we got in the market at the right time. We borrowed $2.5 million and we got, almost 20 acres and 10,000 square foot building and all kinds of stuff, at 0.75% interest, which we're not paying that note on.
Yeah, it's no brainer.
We're making money off that note.
So,
This one we wouldn't have as favorable terms, but what we're talking about probably is being able to borrow, how much?
Well, we were at about 3.2 million, I believe, 3 million, 3.2 million. So this would add another whatever to
And
it.
so if we did that on a limited tax note, it would mean that we actually borrowed the money, some of them on 3 years, some of them on 5, 6, 7 years, I think is max, to pay for these capital improvements this year and then pay them off over time.
right. And
I approve that approach.
And the reason I like adding road and bridge for the next couple of years, that way, basically, it solves road and bridge for a long term.
Well,
They don't
what-
have- they don't have to buy it all this year. They can schedule it over the next 3 years, because we know that most of that equipment, you order it, you're lucky to get it in a year.
And road and bridge is the perfect candidate, it's because that equipment lasts forever, as we've seen. We're trying to get rid of this old stuff that we've had for 40 years, but it works. It's a tool in our toolbox that works to help with these major capital acquisitions, purchases.
So I'd ask Kelly to come up with, 2 year, 3 years, I don't know how many more years you had left on your long-term purchasing, but get a number to Tanya so that there's some flexibility, we have some different options.
We already have something started,
Okay.
Okay.
so we'll get that to you all.
Yeah, Kelly's been prepared.
Trying.
So, are we talking about including the boat in the limited tax note financing for our capital outlays?
Yeah, for the time being, yes. I mean, for the-
I agree. If we're gonna do it that way, then we should really put 2 boats in, because probably they're gonna come back next year and ask for a second one. Because again, it's about having one in the west and one in the east. I'm serious, guys. Anyway,
I like,
It hurts my brain sometimes.
Yeah.
Adam,
Sure.
where is, Comfort doesn't have a Zodiac type boat?
No, sir. We just have a raft.
Does Kendall County have a Zodiac?
Bernie has 1 or 2.
The city does.
Yes, city is. And y'all need to remember this, when water's flooding and going, when the water starts flooding, we get together and we start putting our team together. It's not just like, when we get a call, we put it together beforehand. We already start talking about where we're gonna go and what we're gonna do. So it's not like, we're gonna get the call and deploy the boat, it's already gonna be out and about somewhere.
Right.
So.
I'm in favor of one vote.
Yeah, I am too. We'll check on that other. I mean, you're already getting 100% more than what we got right now, so let's just go with one now, okay, guys?
But in theory, if we go the tax note, it's the same principle that
Right.
you're
I
trying
got
to
you.
finance something that covers multi-years. And I'm just telling you, you're gonna need a second one at some point, so how
Well-
do you put it in there?
I agree, but we're going from never having one to one, and
Hey, when, I believe they will take what they can get.
Yes, sir.
Is that right, Court?
Absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll throw in another raft. How's that?
The other thing that I've had a hard time figuring out as to what ARPA can be used for, what it can't be used for. So, you know, once we get to our next meeting, we can kind of look at the wish list and see where ARPA fits into that.
Well, I hate to tell you, this is the last meeting. The next meeting is July 31st, and we have to finalize our budget.
Well, but we don't, I don't believe we're even gonna have our appraisal numbers yet.
That's right, that's time to do that, right?
The 25th.
The
25th.
25th is when we will get the numbers from the central appraisal districts, and then it'll take us a little while to run the numbers. We normally don't have the tax numbers. We'll have to go in and figure out what the revenue is to support the expenditures that you're passing. And so the actual tax vote, or the property tax vote, is not until September. And y'all vote on the budget in the last Commissioners Court meeting, I believe it's the 28th of August. And that's standard. That's what we did last year.
Isn't there an early August meeting, or is there nothing after the 31st?
On the 14th, I believe it is when y'all talk about the proposed tax rate, I believe, on the 14th.
We talked last week about maybe putting in another workshop.
I don't think we need one.
There's we're gonna need one after we get a final, you know, after today, run the numbers, see where we are.
Yes.
There is another meeting on the 31st of July. We are set to talk about ARPA today, though. You'd ask it, it'll be a limited discussion, but y'all did ask for that on Wednesday, and we did add stuff in y'all's bill for that discussion.
Okay.
I hate to be Debbie Downer, but we really don't have time for another workshop. Because the auditor's office is gonna be all hands on deck between now and the 31st, based on what we've decided, right? The recommendations we come up with today. So if we throw in another workshop, we're not gonna have a final budget ready by the 31st. And just looking at deadlines, I know that I, as a county judge, have a deadline of August the 15th to file this budget with the comptroller's office,
The county clerks.
county clerk,
August 10th.
August 10th.
Well, the deadline is the 15th to work out all of the numbers. I think we've got it set to go on the 10th of August. It's when you'll file it with the county clerk's office.
All that said to me, I mean, we have a meeting on the 31st. On the 31st, we may have to schedule another workshop or extend that or make it, do something. We'll figure that out on the 31st.
So is there anything else on capital outlay?
Judge, can we back up to Fund 14 just 1 second? I just want to point out that on the very first line item there, 661,600, the city did send in their new request, and it's $1,463,934. And I said their request, that's actually, it went up about a little bit less, or right around 5.8%.
And that's based on the contract, right?
That is based on the contract. So it's not really a request, it's
Yeah.
contract.
Right now. That's what it is.
It's still the best deal for the county. There's no real alternative.
Anything else on volunteer fire department before they let them go?
Yep.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
So do we have anything left on capital outlay? Okay, let's go to salaries. Where are we on salaries?
Did you have this print out?
was a printout handed out to you this morning. I don't know if you want to start with a wage adjustment or the combined wage adjustment with the special request and incentives from the road and bridge and the sheriff's office, or just starting with the wage adjustment only. You'll ask for 3%, 4%, 5%, and 6%.
Well, I'd recommend that we start with the easiest, most non-controversial one, and that is the retirement contributions, because that for me is a no-brainer. We're presently at 14.84% deductions, and that money goes into a fund, it's cash, that we use for our retirement plan, and it stays with us, within our control, let's put it that way. So it's easy, to me, it's relatively easy to say we're going to contribute less this next year, reduce it from 14.84 down to 14.02, and get that savings in there regardless of whether you can see it's a little bit different savings, whether it's 3, 4, 5, or 6%. But there's no reason for us not to do that, in my opinion.
I agree.
So, so what are our choices to start talking about?
So on the wage adjustment, you've got 3% is a wage increase of about $653,000, and that is for every department, every employee. 4% is about $815,000. 5% is $976,000, and then 6% is $1.1 million, basically. You'll see there we've rolled it up for the estimated 25% payroll cost. And so the bottom number that you're looking there, of, for example, 3% with the roll-ups is about $817,000. What's in the judge's budget was the 5%, the $1.22 million. We did break it out at the bottom between the ones requesting the special adjustment and the incentives, and the rest of the county at the bottom there in that table.
So is there anywhere where you have them combined?
I'm sorry?
You have them combined anywhere on this page or somewhere else?
For their special adjustments, yes, if you look at the second page there, it's
That's
the
what I'm
one.
looking at. So that is what we're looking at here. That's the combination.
With the wage adjustment and the incentives, it's the one titled Kerr County Combined Wage Adjustment, WA, and Incentives. So that is all of the requests that we have. And so your top line there is the wage adjustment for all, which is the worksheet we just went over. We pulled those forward. Your road and bridge incentive, and then the jail SO, and then the bailiff are all the ones that were on the SO. Those are the emergency responders that will be getting that.
So what's the other category?
The other is the rest of the county,
Just the rest?
the rest of the county.
Yeah. Do we know what the percentages are, the relative percentages for these incentives?
You've got the road and bridge requested that people with the CDL receive a 10% increase. The road administrator, assistant road administrators are to receive a 5% increase, and that's on top of the wage adjustment. And then for the emergency responders, they're set to receive a 20% increase in pay. But now the sheriff did say that he would put in the $500,000 from the grant that's expected. Everything I'm still seeing, and I've heard that Judge, I don't know if you received a letter from Allison. Jim Allison. He said that we will not get, from what he's looking at and hearing, we will not be able to apply for those grants until January. And so we'll have to work that in. And again, the questions that are still there are still there. And we will work that in somewhere, but the basic stuff that we need today at least is what the wage adjustment that you're looking at, because that is a huge worksheet and what takes so much time.
And this also impacts some of our elected officials' salaries, right?
On the incentives, is that your question? Or, I mean, right now, the elected officials are in the 5%. It's for all the county employees.
I'm in favor of keeping it 5%.
A lot of difference. Yeah, big difference. I'm sorry, I think we're gonna have to go on 3%. Too much money.
And I think that
The
we,
judge's comments in line, I agree. The whole budget's too inflated if we don't start cutting somewhere.
I think that, with the sheriff, if we went down to 15% on the incentive, and he's still getting the 5%, they're getting the 20% increase total. When you add it together, you get 25%, road and bridge, you get 15%, or some of road and bridge, you get 15%. And I think that we need to make both those adjustments, but I also think we have to look at all our other employees.
I think on the sheriff's department, what he wanted, somewhere between that 15 and 20. I don't think it has to land on 20. To still keep you competitive, Sheriff. Or would 18% be?
Well, anything's better, and anything else is better.
I think the sheriff's department has to get to the 20%. How you break that up between the basic salary increase and the special increase?
They got plenty of openings, I know that.
I think we need to get to 25.
There are openings there because of salary.
I agree.
I think we're in for it.
Filled, that's even more people getting that 20%.
So we're very fortunate to be able to give you all 500,000. I don't know when that is, but you know, that's
Right.
about as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, that's not lost on the sheriff, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Who's gonna speak for the rank and file employee? I spoke for him, for my proposed budget, because last year, and
None.
y'all, let me finish a little speech here, and you guys can tell me what you want.
I'm sorry,
But the reason I did what I did on the 5% is last year, the actual inflation rate was 8.8%. And the most that we could squeeze out of this budget without raising taxes for the public was a 5% increase, wage adjustment, which I was proud to offer, even though I was embarrassed that I couldn't offer more. We couldn't offer more. And so this year, inflation is coming down. But you know me, I check it every morning. It's about 3.7 right now. So between last year and this year, that's 12.5%. 12.5%. And I thought even if we give them another 5% this year, for a cumulative 10% over 2 years, and the worst inflation we've seen in most of our adult lifetime, is the least this county can do for its employees. That was my reason behind it. And that still leaves them at least 2.5% behind what the actual was.
No gain.
So they're still in the hole. We gotta take care of our employees.
You're right, but these are
And,
tough times.
and the thing that concerns me about this budget is it's almost as if we're creating an aristocracy of people that get more percentages because of their situation, because they're a first responder, because they're road and bridge. And I'm not criticizing that. What I'm saying is we're creating strata of employees. So the rank and file is gonna get 3%, and sheriff's officer will get 25%. Does that bother anybody else but me?
Yes.
It does me too. And no disrespect against law enforcement.
Absolutely not.
No disrespect.
None.
Well,
But-
let me ask you
but
a
people
question
choose
before you
where they
say
live.
anything, Don. Does it bother you because of principle or because it's you? I'd like an honest answer about that. Is it because it's personal or is it about?
It's not personal. It's across the board. All these employees here work hard, and I get where law enforcement is. I get it 100%. But we all choose where we're gonna live and work. You know, people do a lot of things in their profession because that's their passion, that's what they like to do. And sometimes money doesn't matter, but nowadays, that's all what this is enforced behind, money, money, money. Well, I get it, but just because you're getting way more money doesn't mean you're gonna do a way better job. That's just, again, it's the principle. I've sat up here many a times in front of this court asking for increases for our employees. I've been shut down. Every year I've come up here for my employees, I've been shut down. So basically, you know, in the past few years, everybody's gotten it, and I get it. Everybody is having a hard time getting employees, but you think the county clerk and myself are having that same issue? Trying to hire someone with knowledge? We have to train them just like law enforcement does. They're trying to get the cream of the crop from somewhere else with money. We don't get that opportunity to do that. So I just feel like it needs to be across the board that everybody gets a raise. We don't get ARPA money. The sheriff's office gets stipend money every month. We don't get that. We worked during COVID. We never shut down. We were an extension of the court because we had to process what they did. So basically, I'm just saying, make it fair across the board. And I get their issue. But this grant money, you get $500,000. What about the next year? How are you going to fund it? It goes away eventually. You know, they're just not handing money out left and right. And now that they've approved the homestead exemption to go up, what are you going to do then? You going to cut us even more? I cut my budget down to the bones. But I'm not going to sit there and cut my budget to the bones when it's dispersed to everybody else and my employees don't even get a raise. And I'm collecting a large amount of money here. I will give up my part-time position to make sure these employees get 5%. Thank you.
My concern is keeping staff because the state is handing out raises left and right. I know Kelly suffers with TxDOT taking people, and then the sheriff's department, they're just competing with other counties. I think it would be 5% is where it should be at, and that's what I'm in favor of. I don't think 3% is competitive enough to keep staff on board because we're going to start seeing people look elsewhere if they're not already. Thank you.
Dawn just hit on something I've been thinking about all morning. And that is that if you have a leaner staff and you pay them better, you still can come out ahead if you do it right. I've done it, and it's not easy, and it's not, it doesn't make you a lot of friends, but sometimes you have to do that. And so if you let go of your part-time staff or whatever you have to do, you trim down your department, and then that money, you still can give people a raise. It's not quite as much, you save a little bit of money. The balancing act is it worth the difference for the savings? And money can be saved that way.
We need to point out something again, that the sheriff's office isn't asking for his clerical staff and stuff like that. He's asking for patrolmen and jailers and stuff like that.
Effectively, it's a market compression. I mean,
It
in the
is.
private sector, you do this. It's all based on supply and demand and what the market is. And there are certain positions that the demand is so high that you have to step them up.
My
If you're
constituents,
not losing people elsewhere, then you don't.
my constituents,
It's the
when they call 911, they want somebody to show up.
Absolutely.
The sheriff's
That's our
office
prime
has,
duty.
what, you got 10 or 12 vacancies right now.
Yes, sir.
I support the sheriff getting a big adjustment. It's needed, but I also support all of our employees being treated fairly, and fair to me is 5% a year.
But we also have to be fair to our taxpayers. How many of those guys got a 10% increase over the last 2 years? Yeah, you know, these are tough times.
I'd say that most of them did.
We have any-
If they're working, if they're retired.
If you're in the private sector, they got it.
Yeah, if they're in the private sector, they got more than 10%.
And if you're
I've seen what wages do to my employees.
And that's federal and state got it too. I think probably even city employees.
The city and the state got it too, so it's not just
Yeah, so
private sector.
we need to treat our employees right and be at 5%.
Well, I still would admonish everybody to look at your staff and see what you can do if you need everybody there. And I'm not trying to get anybody fired. I'm just trying to help us lean up and control our budgets better. It's not an easy thing to have to do.
Is Kirk
I
County
remember I told
growing?
a lady one day I was firing her, and she says, "This comes at a very bad time." And I said, "There's never a good time to be fired." So it is true, there's never a good time to be fired, but if you got people that aren't very busy, you don't use them all the time, I'm really asking you to look that over and consider whether you need them.
I was looking at the cost of training new employees in any department is huge. And if we don't stay competitive with the local market, whether it's the city of Kerrville or Kendall County or Gillespie County or TxDOT, we're gonna be losing our employees and risk of shooting ourselves in the foot. And we were there about 20 years ago when we came up with the, what we call this, three years to get a step increase and try to prevent that. And it worked, and it made the employees stay. And we've gone through big adjustments in salaries before. Unfortunately, our last salary study was right in the middle of COVID, and looking back at it, we should have just pulled the plug and not even done. But we didn't, so that's, that's behind. But we've got to keep our employees trained. And this court has made a decision for the last 3 or 4 years to really hold the line on taxes. When you do that, it's going to fight you eventually. And it's fighting us right now. We're going to have to raise taxes this year.
Will help with the inflation.
Right, inflation hurt, but I mean, we were intentionally keeping taxes as low as we possibly could. And I supported it, and I voted for those budgets, but at the same time, it's a day of reckoning. Sometimes, we have got to make some adjustments, and yes, it's going to be painful. And our employees have got to be treated right.
I've made my objections to raising taxes well known today. And I don't expect to leave this process very neat for its heart. It's not going to be very, very welcoming for us out there. But our employees are the heart of the county. I'm not criticizing the sheriff's office for the market conditions. I'm not criticizing Road Bridge for the market conditions. I understand. And if you notice, I didn't object when y'all talked about them in the workshops. I'm concerned about the big picture. And I kind of get the impression that not everybody's looking at the big picture. They're looking at their part of the weeds. And everybody has the needs. But the worst thing we can do as we go through this budget trimming process is to forget about our employees. Because without them, the county doesn't run. And we need to treat them fairly. And the suggestion that we reduce the 5% recommendation wage adjustment that I put in my budget down to 3% and put that burden solely on the backs of our employees to trim the budget, that's unacceptable to me. I support the 5%, and I know what it does it's going to raise the taxes. I got that. I hate it, but that's one that I think that is something that is worth doing, because otherwise we completely undermine the efficacy of what we do, in my opinion.
I just was going to say that.
Sorry.
No, I just want to say I totally agree with this, and I'm not knocking it anyway, but I just want to point out and advocate for that I do have 2 guys. I got 2 deputies that I. If there's some way, and I know this is for the sheriff's office, but it may work to recruit out of my department. I don't want them to get left in the dust. So I'm just pointing that out, that I got 2 guys there that will be wondering and have asked questions about it. So I got to know how to explain that if they're not going to end up getting. Anyway, just pointing that out. But I totally agree with it. I hate to see them end up left behind.
I just want to piggyback on something Commissioner Harris said about the clerical staff. Without the clerical staff, the clerks that issue the warrants, the clerks that do all of that stuff. Law enforcement, yes, they're protecting us, but we're also in that same line. We're doing all the work, what they're bringing into us, as well as the DAs. So it's a ripple effect. So I get, and again, no disrespect, Sheriff, but we work just as hard as you do because we're doing all of their cases. So, you know, I want to make sure that my clerks, as well as I'm going to talk for the county clerk as well. She does all law enforcement stuff too. We can't just push it to the side. We can't shut down. We can't do that because without that, guess what? Those people don't get arrested. So we play a big part in it as well. So just a clerk, I don't go for that.
I didn't say just a clerk.
Well, I'm just that just how I came across how you said it, so.
What Mr. Harris was saying was that the sheriff department, the clerical staff in his department are not getting that larger salary increase.
Exactly.
All the more reason, 5% across the board.
We're agreeing on this one.
One.
It's a start.
Starting to build a bridge.
Really, Andy, you say that?
And I don't mean to be a source to death, but this budget is going to be y'all's budget, not my budget. I'm the one that has to file it. I'm the one that has the legal obligation to file that. But this is your budget. And so y'all need to decide.
It's our budget, but it's gonna take 3 votes to get it approved.
Well, there.
So it's our, it's your budget as much as it's my budget.
It's all 5 of us.
We can't take a vote today.
Right.
But the auditor, and I think the employees, I think the entire county needs some guidance from this court as to where we're gonna try to blend this thing.
Well, I'll just say this about what you said. You said everybody across the board should get a pay increase. Everybody across the board here shares the blame or the praise. All of us.
True.
Okay. Just want to clear that up.
Yeah,
I don't disagree, and I also want you all to clearly understand, although some people will misconstrue what I said about cleaning up your departments and making sure that you're really lean. I don't want to see anybody looking for a job that's been working for the county. But it is something all of us should always be mindful of. Are we hiring the best people we can get? Is there anybody sitting around doing nothing? You hired a part-time employee and you didn't really need him, you thought you did, you didn't. That sort of stuff always, as managers, we should all be looking at. All the time. Every day. If you got a single person department, you don't have to worry about it. If you got one person in your office, you probably don't have to worry about it. But some of us have a lot of people under us that may or may not be pulling their own weight. That's really important. The work ethic in this place, regardless of whether you have to train a new one or whatever, temperament, personality makes this machine work properly. Just as much as how many people you have trying to do the job.
Moving on, additional personnel.
So can you please clarify, because the 5% stays in for right now for all employees. The road and bridge stays as is, and the sheriff's office stays as is? Or 15% was the other that I heard instead of
She
20?
said 18.
I think 15 is way too low.
Anyone for 18?
Well, how are we doing this?
Makes 23.
5 plus 18 or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it would.
Yeah, it's
5 is for everybody.
5 for everyone, then you get the other. So if you know, 15 means 20% for the sheriff, 18 means 23% for the sheriff. I mean, 18 is still,
He's still in the same marketplace out there competing for the same employees. That's not changing.
right. Yeah.
We still have have to factor in SB 22 and how we utilize those funds that I agree won't happen until later in the year. But once we get the funds,
Okay.
we certainly need to spend them for the sheriff's department.
Well, yeah, and I think that's,
They'll,
Clear on how
they'll
that's
be
gonna work.
factored into this, like, off the top of my head, again, I need to spend more time thinking about it. Whatever y'all give will be decreased. I'll just have to figure out what that's gonna look like percentage-wise for all the emergency responders. And it'll be the 400,000 decreases gross pay, and then the other 100,000 will go toward the benefits or the roll-up cost. And I think the sheriff is okay with that.
Yes.
So it'll be a little bit less if you say it that way.
So you're saying grant money will offset what we put in the budget? Is that what you just said?
Please, it's subject to change because we haven't seen anything definite at this time.
That's all I wanted to hear, what you just said.
Okay.
Well, the bill was approved. We
Right.
just aren't real
But we
clear
don't-
on the
we don't know what-
mechanisms to get the money.
And just to clarify something for Dawn, the bill provides that those funds are perpetual. They have to pass the bill to stop it.
Yeah, we discussed that the other day.
So, and it was for the first 2 years of the biennium. So we got 500 this year, 500 next year, and it's built into the state budget to be 500 every year unless they pass an act to stop it, which would be very difficult to do.
But like I said, I wasn't at the budget hearing, so I wasn't aware of that.
No, I'm just explaining to you that when we talk about this 500, it's there. We know that.
And then additional funds for the prosecutor's office.
right, it's there for,
Yeah, we're worried about that.
for the sheriff. I mean, it can't be used anywhere but the sheriff's office.
Yep. Maybe we need to move some staff to the prosecutors.
It's easier said than done.
Okay, so I'm gonna do 18% to start with and 5%.
What does that say?
Not much.
Yeah, probably not, it's not, may not be working. I mean, I don't know.
That's the only.
Yeah.
What does it do to you, Sheriff,
That'd be 2%.
in your mind?
I mean, anything helps. At the 20%, I just want to make sure y'all know, we're still going to be behind these other agencies. Okay, we're still going to be behind. You know, whether it's 2%, cut it or not, I mean, we're still behind.
So you get 20, it's 25%.
Correct. Correct, and those other agencies are be getting a minimum of 5% or more. What is, I think Gillespie County's gonna get 2.5% per year. I think Bandera County's getting 10%. I'm still waiting on Campbell County, so we're still, they're already hired us, it just keeps going.
Let's leave it at 20 then. See where we are.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Got it.
At some point, we gotta pull some money out of the budget.
I know.
Okay, let's go on to additional personnel.
I just have something that I forgot to bring up the last workshop, but I did bring it up in the first one. I just wanted to make sure. I had asked for $1,500 as a CDL stipend, and I think it got put on the position schedule, if I'm not mistaken, Rosa. But it was to cover our shop supervisor is training the folks that do not have CDLs.
I
And
remember that discussion.
yeah, and we asked for $1,500. It would cover 3 people getting their CDLs. And we already ran a test one, and that individual currently does have his CDL. And that one was just to run a test to see if we're capable of doing it. But the savings is tremendous. Otherwise, you'd have to send them to a school. And I've heard anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 per individual. I know the,
Did you have funds otherwise budgeted for that training?
no. No, we did the one and he was willing to do it and not get any compensation for it, but we figured there should be something because it's added on to his job.
So I guess the question.
I just wanted to make
is
sure
whether
it was
that
in
was
the budget. I didn't bring it up the last.
It's, Rosa said it's not part of her spreadsheet. I don't have it anywhere either.
Okay.
So we need to add 4,500?
No, just 1,500. We figured to cover 3. If we were to hire people that didn't have CDLs, that it would cover 3 people. So he'd get
So it's
$500 each time somebody got their CDL. I mean, it may not cover all of our openings, but we figured it was a good place to start, and it does compensate him for doing that along with his regular job. So, sorry that I forgot to bring that up. I did bring it up though in the first workshop, I know that.
What, I mean, I call a lot of additional personnel. I remember some reclassification of employees, but,
There was a handful, it's in your, you'll have the spreadsheet, it hasn't changed any from last.
Called new hires. It's under the tab of new position requests or,
Front,
yeah, first couple tabs. New position or new hires.
we have the district clerk part-time on there. And then the corrections officer, patrol deputy, and Kenneth. Does that sound right?
yeah.
Okay. Nothing else on additional personnel? Retirement. What tab is that?
I think that was the discussion we kind of already had,
Yeah,
moving it
good.
down to
We're talking about that.
1402.
Really fast.
There's no brainer. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about today?
ARPA.
ARPA.
On Fund 30 is where the tab that y'all should be looking at.
130, and then it'll have the expenditures report. It's the last 2 pages. So the first couple of pages will be the ARPA, the revenues, and the budget. And then the last 2 pages are where we're at today.
Which tab?
It's Fund 30.
Fund.
So it's towards the back.
Which page do you have us on, Elvin?
On Fund 30,
I got Fund
Oh.
30, which page?
are you talking about expenditures today?
Just to kind of see
The
where we
last 2
are
pages.
right now.
So next to last page will be the first.
Once you get past on
So we're looking at the column that says year-to-date actual,
Year-to-date actual.
1.355.
Actually, I'm going the wrong way, so you get up to like 6.
Yes.
Oh,
Second to last page.
Right.
Second to last.
So what you're looking at here, the largest item that we have under the lost revenue is the communications. And so we've spent about almost 1.1 million so far, and we've got an additional 5.4 million. We have the VA trails, we have the new hires that were from last year, and then we still have more of the lost revenue that really has not been identified at this point. We do have the temporary worker for the communications project. That's about 80,000, somewhere around in there. All of those will roll over if they're not finished. We have until December of next year to spend it all. One of the issues is how you can spend that money now. So they've tightened up as far as the rules have changed with the ARPA funds. And so the hardest thing right now, in a way, is to find the items that you need to buy if it's a purchase and make sure that they're on the SAM's list. That is what has hurt us this year. We've had expenditures, they're large expenditures, they're not a SAM's. They weren't on the SAM's. And so the easiest that GrantWorks has told us, really and truly, are staff. And so your special incentives that you're looking at, your special request, could be paid through ARPA for this one next year. Anything else in that, we'll need to work with GrantWorks to see exactly what GrantWorks is going to need to approve whatever it is, and that will need to be done before anything is purchased, just so that we can make sure that we will actually be able to turn in that expense.
One of the items that we have not talked about through the budget workshop process, but we've talked about in the past, is courthouse security. And I say courthouse security, not the bailiffs, we're talking about the entries, the gates, as part of the bond issue to fix all that. Is that an eligible item?
GrantWorks is your experts, and right now, you just need to talk to GrantWorks. It depends on what particular item that you're looking at, how it needs to be broken down. You're asking me a huge, broad question that I don't know how to answer.
I would be in favor of using 50% of the incentives for both sheriff and road and bridge out of ARPA. I'm reluctant to do 100% because then it's going to really hit us next year. If we did 10% this year, 10% next year, it kind of gets us into a line. So we don't all of a sudden wake up in 3 years and get in the face. As bad.
So you're talking about using roughly $650,000 for the sheriff's incentive and same thing for road
And
bridge?
road bridge incentive out of ARPA. And see what that, see what that does.
That's what I'm pushing out.
So we have, what, 1.5, I think, in the budget, just a second, to be used?
Right.
And so we'll need to find what else can fit under that.
Does the across the board county increase come out of that?
It would be retention. If we could narrow it down quite simply for the ease of it, when we're looking at payroll and the reporting purposes, it would almost, it's kind of the same difference, and it would almost be easier to just do the incentives.
It would be easier to just do the incentive?
Payroll wise, instead of doing 50% and then whatever percent of everybody's raise, whenever you start talking about the reporting of it, it's much easier. Because we'll have a certain button that they'll need to punch, to put in time or to add whatever amounts that we come up with.
If we have until end of 2024?
December of 2024, not the end of the fiscal year, the end of the calendar year,
So
That's
we-
to spend the money,
to spend the money.
to spend the money.
Or
The
to-
original parameters on that those ARPA funds didn't include things like pay raises. It was
But-
about emergency services and roads and
It qualifies because all of what we're trying to spend with our ARPA funds qualifies as lost revenue. So the federal went in and said, anything that's $10 million, you can say you've lost that much over the time of COVID. And so while it relaxed the rules some on the purpose of it, it didn't relax the rules on having to have the SAM registration and still go out for competitive bidding and still go out, if you're looking at a contract, having to do the RFQs for those, RFPs for those. And so it did allow us to use retention and recruitment in part of that, which is why the sheriff's incentives, the road and bridge incentives will work.
so that's a change.
That is a loosening of,
clarification.
yeah.
Remember we came in and said the first 10 million of the ARPA funds, I call it the get out of jail free card. The government says you have up to 10 million for lost revenues. GrantWorks went and checked it all out. They come back and told us that we can use the funds to do these types of personnel issues as lost revenue. And it's and what we've been trying to do in the ARPA funds is we're standing right down the middle of that golf course.
Right.
We're not going
Right.
to the edge. And a lot of people don't understand what SAMS is. And why don't you explain what SAMS is?
SAM is what everyone has to go and register if you're gonna do business with the federal government.
That's
We're in there,
SAMS.
I can't tell you what SAM stands for, sorry.
System award management.
System Award Management. Thank you, grant person. Love it.
But if you don't go through SAMS, then the federal government doesn't approve that or you got to go out and do competitive bidding. And so that was one of the strings that they had attached to those funds. And so when they came out and said, we can do the lost revenues, which is what we did, then GrantWorks just pretty much rubber stamps anything we send over there on this stuff, and it gets approved. So this has been a big deal.
Sam's is a paperwork nightmare for small business.
Yes.
Yes.
Is what it is. You know,
You're
in the
reporting.
past, I had bid on a federal contract, and you gotta do it, and
Yeah, that's.
it didn't work.
No, no,
You have to really inflate, because you have to, all kinds of, who you can buy materials from, you have to get certifications, your wages that, under that contract, have to be paid a certain way. And so most small businesses that we would tend to work with don't qualify or won't do it. So that's kind of what Sam's is.
Going back a little bit, Harley, and I think, Judge, you probably remember, I think Medina County, right off the bat, everybody down there raised
Yeah.
in county government.
Across the board.
But we stayed away from it
Yeah.
because of what you were talking about, Judge. We want to stay in the middle of it, of course.
Well, we had a little resistance.
But
I was one of those.
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, can we allocate 50% of the incentive this year and then set aside for next year another $650, something like that amount? So for the next 2 years, at least half of the incentive is covered by ARPA, rather than using it all right now.
Right now,
Geez, if I
with
just
what
say-
we're looking at on this budget, and those are the funds that the government sent back to us, the tax dollars we sent to Washington, I don't have one hesitation to go ahead and use it for these hard times that we have today, because it's not getting better. As the sheriff says, he's still behind, even with what we're trying to do today.
It can't catch
Problem
up.
is, we're still kicking the can down the road because you're gonna see all those salaries in next year's budget and putting another increase on top of that, so.
So my question is, if we use half for this fiscal year, or really my question is this, is the money, as long as the money is earmarked, is it considered spent? Or does it have to actually leave the account and be spent?
By the end of next year, it has to be in the account.
And
Which-
again,
Which would eliminate your plan.
Yeah.
yes, thank you. It would. It would make it hard to do that for next year.
Because it has to be.
You'd only
cleared
have
out.
to, you'd only be allowed to do it for 3 months.
Then we should use it.
And we get GrantWorks blessing before we do it.
Okay.
That's right, we don't do anything without their blessing, they sign off. I kinda like to get that over with.
And so how are we gonna spend it then?
Half on road and bridge, half on SO.
Well, I thought it was all,
I thought it was all, or as
All.
much as we
spend
can.
as much as we can, wherever it goes.
Well, we got two programs, I thought we.
But it has to be in this
But-
fiscal budget, I mean, this
Yeah.
budget,
So
all
spend
of it.
as much as we can this year,
Then we'll just apply it. Okay.
and see where we are and see what's left, and then we can figure out what, on the balance of it. If there is, because I don't think we'll spend
So to
all
clarify,
1.5 million.
what you're suggesting is that we take the funds that we have, and I'm just gonna say, what is it, $1 million?
1.5.
1.5, and apply those funds to the incentive programs that we did for SO and we did for Road and Bridge.
All the funds. When we start moving that fund later, that's, I think, gonna create a problem. Tell me if that's wrong. If you can't spend them all in that year, you're not gonna be able to move it to another line in the budget.
You can't move it to another line in the budget, but you'd be spending it by December in the next budget.
Right. So we can move it.
Well, you just hang on.
You just have to use it by
Well,
the
if
end of December.
If we put the whole amount, if we put the whole amount in what we're talking about, for road and bridge and sheriff's department, in that fiscal year, we're not gonna use it all up.
Probably.
There would be a balance.
Gonna roll over, and we've got to spend it before the end of that last quarter next year.
But what I think Mr. Blue's saying is that we don't have enough time
Yes,
to use
that's what I'm
all
saying.
the 1.5 million on the incentive.
Not on that program. So if you end up with a surplus, that has to go toward one of the one of the designated uses. And the question is, can it be moved from one line to the next without creating a big problem? You start off saying we're gonna use it for this, you end up saying we're gonna use it for that. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
So right now, if you look at not rolled up, if you look at the worksheet we were looking at earlier, you've got 2.3 is the estimated increase with the 5%, with all of the road and bridge, with all of the emergency responders. And you've got about $1 million of that just around it. And so that leaves about 1.3 that's not rolled up. So it's gonna be really close to that 1.5, I think.
Okay.
And we'll have some money left over from this year's budget even, because we can't spend it all this year either.
But on the WA schedule that you gave us.
Yes.
Okay? You have itemized there, under the 5% WA, you've got the road R&B incentive, the jail incentive, the SO incentive, and the bailiff incentive, right there.
Yes.
And that's what we're gonna spend it on.
Yes.
Good, got it.
And whatever, things like the radio project or the Veterans Pathway, I mean, we've already allocated ARPA funds for those, so will those funds automatically roll over because you're not gonna spend them this year?
Yes.
They'll roll over, and I'll have to, after we finish and close out the year, we'll come back with a budget adjustment to true those back up to where we are right now. Or are at the end of the year, rather.
Anything else on ARPA?
Can I say something?
No. No.
Just curious.
Go to podium.
Well, well, no, I just
Go to the
wanted.
podium.
Oh, jeez.
Well, the reason it's important to go to the podium is because the public's listening to us.
I just wanted to do a reminder, and I haven't spoken to Charlie recently, but here very, very soon, we will be coming forward to obligate the remainder of the funds for the VA project. All we obligated was for the engineering services, but not the remainder, if you remember. So just speaking of ARPA, and we know we talk about it all the time, but those have not yet been obligated by the court to use for the VA project. And I will be coming to that with you soon. Just waiting for the engineering portion to get done a little bit more. That's all I would say, reminder. Questions?
Which is gonna be a ballpark, how much?
250,000 total,
Including the engineering fund.
including engineering.
That's right.
But 250 is what we have in the budget.
That's what
You
was set aside.
designated 250, but we haven't obligated it yet.
Oh, that's technical. Okay,
Yes.
nothing to do with the budget.
It's
You're back to-
technical.
Get back to the ARPA technicality.
Yeah,
We got it.
we're good.
We're good. Anything else on ARPA? There being none, then we're adjourned.
I've been sitting in there for 30 minutes trying to hear everything y'all are saying, and all of a sudden,